Hi, I'm Christina Applegate.
And I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
And this is
Messy. On today's episode, we talk to the one and only Mel Robbins. We wanted to make the most of our time with her, so let me just give a brief introduction now. She is the creator and host of the award-winning podcast, the Mel Robbins Podcast, and a #1 New York Times best-selling author of multiple books, including her most recent one, The Let Them Theory. We talk about so many things, so let's just get to it. Well, welcome to Messy. It's Jamie.
And Christina.
And I don't want to get emotional right away. I cannot begin to describe how this woman has truly changed my life. Mel Robbins, I will just take up a little bit of this beginning time to tell you that there is this beautiful, and I don't know if this is like a full circle moment for you, but your podcast recently that you released a couple of weeks ago with Martha Beck, and you talked about when you heard her speak, the shift that happened within you and it changed your life. While I've been a loyal follower of you and just the way you speak has resonated with me in ways that nobody else has, that podcast shifted something within me, and it has encouraged me to push through my own obstacles like you talk about. And I truly have been shocked at my abilities to persevere, to accomplish things I didn't think I would be able to. I have felt shifts in my physical body. I have felt shifts in all of my bodies, my mind, body, spirit, soul. I will forever be grateful to you and what you so graciously give the world all the time. And I just had to start by telling you that. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you. It just makes me really choked up, because I think I've struggled a lot in my life, and I've made my life so much harder for myself than I actually, needed to.
Yeah.
And I think when you're struggling, you think you're the only one.
Yeah.
And so to know that in some small way, the things that I'm trying to share or the mistakes that I've made that have hurt myself or other people, or just the conversations like the one that you're referring to that I had with Martha Beck, that the fact that that is making a difference for you is very humbling. And, what I like to say is that I really appreciate and can hear the acknowledgement, and I want you to keep the credit, because what I'm doing in my work is just reminding you that you actually do have more power than you believe, and that there is a bigger possibility for your life and for your health and for the future. And so you get the credit because you're the one that not only is recognizing it in yourself, but you're also the one that's going to take the thing that you heard me say or somebody else say, and you're going to use it in your life. And we all have that power. And that's exactly what the two of you are doing with these conversations and with this podcast, is that you're reminding people that they have within themselves the ability to look at what's possible differently, the ability to approach their health differently, the ability to approach relationships differently. And so I kind of often feel like I'm just reminding you that you could.
Well, thank you for the reminder.
Thank you. I was going to speak on that too, because, even though Jamie and I both have MS, our listeners are, yes, there are a lot of people with MS who are struggling. There's a lot of people that are just dealing with other chronic illnesses or depression or life or parenting. And I'm very excited about getting to speak to you, because for our listeners, this is like you giving them a gift today and giving me a gift. So I'm excited to sit here and like really learn, because, I'm the yin to your yang. She's the positive. I'm the scrappy negative. So I think but you're like the This is perfect. I don't even know. Okay.
Well, not only am I just so excited to speak to a personal hero of mine, but I'm so excited to introduce you to Christina because I love her so much. And I believe that she deserves so much more than she's allowing for herself. Living with MS is very hard. We talk about it at length on this podcast, and the community and the recognition of our struggle is important. I understand, but I do believe that this can be a catalyst for great change within us and for us. And so I want to begin with Let Them, which is,
Okay.
I think, this life-changing book for millions of people, and talking about these tools that you give us. And I love when you talk about essentially that it's about giving power to other people. But I think in our particular situation, it can almost feel like it's not about another person, but about a disease. Do you know what I mean? Where it feels like we're giving MS the power. So in a way of sort of describing this to Christina and our listeners that are struggling with that, how can we apply Let Them when it comes to just getting past just a personal physical struggle?
So it's a fantastic question. And I want to be very responsible about something.
Yeah.
I can talk intellectually about concepts. It's a whole different thing to apply them, right?
Sure.
And so I want to be very, very clear that I cannot speak from the experience that you both have and that the person listening may have, whether they're dealing with a chronic illness or they're dealing with a very confronting situation in their life or they're dealing with reinvention, that kind of knowing what you need to do in life, whether I know I need to take better care of myself, I know I need to look for a different job, I know I need to be more responsible with money. Knowing what you need to do is very different than actually the step of doing it. And so what we're going to talk about is what the Let Them theory is and how it can apply to a situation that is as challenging and as very real as dealing with a chronic illness. Because what the Let Them theory is it's ultimately a book about control, power, and peace. And the reason why I think the Let Them theory has exploded is because it's not a new concept. I'm not the first person to put the words let them together. I am not the first person to remind you that when you focus on things that you can't control, it actually creates more stress in your own life, and it also makes you feel more out of control. And the book itself is about a very simple tool. And the Let Them theory, in case you don't know what it is, you're going to be able to use it the second I explain what it is. The moment you feel frustrated or upset or overwhelmed or uncertain or hurt or just exacerbated or stressed or tired about something going on in your life, just say, let them. Let them. And it could be traffic. It could be the long line you're waiting in. It could be the fact that your doctor hasn't called you back. It could be some of the like bullshit stuff that flies around the internet about health related stuff or what people are saying about the two of you online. Let them. When you say let them, you are acknowledging to yourself that this thing that's stressing me out or upsetting me is not something I can control. That's not where my power is. I can't control how fast traffic moves. I can't control whether or not the insurance company is going to cover this claim. I've got to say, let them, because when I say let them, it's not like I'm letting them run me over. I'm saying let them to recognize that I can't control what's happening in this moment. Therefore, I'm not going to waste my time and energy. Then you say the second part of the theory, which is let me. Let me remind myself that in any instance, there are only three things that I have to control. I can control what I think about what's happening. I can control what I do or don't do in response. And I can also control what I do or don't do in response to the feelings that are rising up. And that's true whether you're online with a health insurance provider and you're trying to get a claim like cleared, or it's true about your mother-in-law that just said something super insensitive about MS or something else you're dealing with, or your parenting style. It's true about traffic. Like, I get to choose what I think about just what happened. I get to choose what I do and don't do. And then I get to choose what I'm going to do in response to my emotions. And so that's how you use it. You simply say, let them, when stuff is stressing you out and freaking you out and bothering you and overwhelming you. And then you say, let me, in order to bring the power back and focus your time and energy on what's actually in your control.
I have a quick question because it pertains to this, and I want to make sure that our listeners and myself really truly understand what you're saying, because years ago I had this boyfriend, and anytime we went somewhere, he would like kind of talk over me and want to be the center of attention. I remember making an agreement with myself of I don't need it as much as he does. So my question is to clarify that let them isn't giving over your own power and allowing someone to walk all over you. I just wanted to be clear with everybody that, right, that we're not
It's a super
saying,
smart question.
okay,
Very smart question. And actually, like, what's interesting about this theory is that everybody loves the let them part, because you kind of feel like let them rhymes with F them. And so people feel a little bit superior and whatever. But the other thing that's been happening, because a lot, the let them theory is what it's called, but the power is in the let me part, is that when you say let them, you're not allowing anybody to do anything. They're already talking over you. They're already treating you in a way that's disrespectful. When you say let them, what you're doing is something very interesting. You're practicing detachment theory and radical acceptance. Let them is a boundary. Let them, when you say it, isn't saying, I'll just let them talk over me. Let them is where you separate yourself from this other person and you actually see their behavior. This person talks over you. You see their behavior as data and as proof of who they are, how they treat you, how they operate in the world. Because what people say really at times is irrelevant. It's really what they're doing that reveals who they are and how they think about you or what their skills are. So when you say let them in the instance that this person's talking all over you, first of all, they're already talking all over you. And then you go, and so you say let them so that you can not be so irritated or feel so disrespected. And then you say to yourself, let me decide how I want to respond. And when you made the reframe, he needs the airtime more than I do. You actually chose to protect your time and energy.
but I was young, and what I did was I shut myself down and then
Okay.
spent years like not speaking up for myself or advocating for myself or coming toe to toe with anyone. So that's why I want to make this really clear, because you can do that. We all do that, right? We all go like, okay, forget
Exactly.
it. I'll change my behavior.
Correct. Now, here's the thing. I love that you're going here, because this seems like a small example, but you just actually explained brilliantly how that relationship where somebody talked over you, let them, they're revealing that this is the kind of person they are. They need all the attention. They don't care what you have to say, because somebody that's actually talking on top of you actually isn't interested in listening to you. So they're revealing that that's who they are. The let me part is your response to it. And what you did when you were younger is you just shut yourself down. And then that became a pattern in situations where you would lose your power. And so that's an example of where you gave their behavior power. We all do it. And so what I love about let them and let me is if you think about it like boundaries and you think about it where it's just cueing you, what's in my control, what's not in my control. Someone else's behavior, you're never going to be able to change, because people only change when they're ready to do the work to change. And if you're anything like me, I would always be adaptive to someone else's behavior. So if somebody's talking all over me, I would be just like you. I would shut up too, because I would think, okay, well, they're in control. I'm going to give them my power. Now I'm feeling really small. And now this is becoming a pattern. What using the theory can help you do is it can help you break the patterns, because when you recognize that other people are going to do what they're going to do, let them. Respect has to come from yourself first. So now that you're grown up and you're separated from this and you're doing some work and you're seeing like, I don't allow people to talk over in me anymore. That doesn't feel good. I don't want to be small in my life. The way that you start to feel bigger in your life is not by expecting other people to treat you that way first. They should, but a lot of people don't. So in any situation where somebody talks over you or disrespects you or treats you in a way that's less than you deserve, they just belittle you, backhanded compliments, they're passive, whatever. People do this all the time. Let them, because I'm going to recognize that the change is not going to come from them. It's going to come from me. And then you say, let me ask myself, do I want to speak up and say, excuse me, I'm not done talking? Do I want to speak up to my mother-in-law and say, I see things very differently? Or are you trying to make me feel bad? Do I want to remove myself from this text chain or this dining room table or this date or this interview or this like conversation because I have the power to? And I'm not going to sit here in silence, but I'm also not going to waste my time arguing with this idiot. So you start to navigate that in the situation where the boyfriend's talking over you, we give them the power and then we shut up. And that's not victim blaming. That's just like a coping mechanism. I had it too. When you start to say, let them and let me, what you're doing for yourself, or at least this is how it's helped me, is you're recognizing that true power isn't in managing the other person. Like I've got somebody in my life, you guys, it's like super narcissistic because of their childhood issues. And for years, I like shut down around this person. I brace. Like I just wish it would change. I keep hoping it's going to change. And then, the same dynamic happens where it's all about them and they erupt over the stupidest thing. And then I always feel like and then all of a sudden I learned the let them theory. And for the first time, I'm able to go, let them have a narcissistic personality style. Let them be who they are. When I can accept them as they are and as they aren't, I stop giving them power because I'm no longer wishing they would change. Now I focus my time on the let me part. Who do I want to be in this interaction? How much time and energy do I want to put into this? Am I having a day where I'm having a flare up? So I don't have the energy to interrupt this person, but I'm choosing not to, which means I'm actually not shrinking. I'm expanding because I'm consciously deciding this idiot isn't worth my time. Do you see, does that help explain this a little bit? It's like literally helping you access the tools so that you can make a decision about how to respond to somebody in any situation.
Messy is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's just talk numbers for a minute, okay? Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up very fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and on time because therapy should feel accessible, not like it's a luxury. And with online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense. And it can help you with anything from anxiety to just everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it. And now it's within reach. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy program, having served over 5 million people globally. Therapy to me has been such a game changer for so many reasons in my life at so many times, at so many seasons. It's something that I always go back to, whether it's a specific thing I need help through or whether I'm just feeling like I need to feel better about myself. And with BetterHelp, it can be very convenient. You can join a session with the click of a button from your bed, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. And plus, if you're not vibing with the therapist that you find, you can switch very easily at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/messy to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/messy. So I've lived with MS for 24 years. She's lived with MS for 3. While I have entered into this sort of place of acceptance and seeing MS as this catalyst for change within me, Christina's grieving. And when I'm hearing Mel talk this way, I feel like you're kind of in your let me. And you can, meaning like you're letting yourself feel things that you haven't allowed yourself to feel for your whole life up until now? I mean, obviously I want to nudge you into some movement, but like, can let me be that where can let yourself feel things that people tell you shouldn't be feeling about a situation?
Right. Well, though I was going to speak to you, James. Sorry, Mel,
Yeah.
but I'm going to talk to James for 2 seconds. My whole thing now is I don't give a fuck about what anyone says. Like I am at a good space in life. I remember that little 19-year-old girl who let people poop all over her, but right now I'm not. But you're right. I'm letting this disease shit on me. And
Hmm.
and I'm letting it win. So
Oh my God. I just had something that I have to share with you. I'm sorry. It's like a download and I hate interrupting people. I'm
Do
sorry
it.
since
no,
we're
it's
not
okay.
in the
We
same
interrupt
room.
all the time. I get in trouble
Oh
for it
my
all the time.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. So, in researching this theory and kind of writing this book and making a case for this theory and how it applies in your life, a lot of the experts would use this language that I feel like I need to share with you. And they would say things like, you're like the thing, Mel, with depression is it's lying to you. The thing with an eating disorder is it's lying to you. The thing about addiction is it's lying to you. And yes, there are all kinds of bigger issues around the kind of neural pathways that gets developed and the kind of habit loops of addiction and eating disorders and all that stuff. But I found it interesting because you just talked about the fact that MS is shitting on you, like the old relationship when you were 19, people were shitting on you. And it made me remember all of these experts that I interviewed for the research for the Let Them theory saying that these things that hold us hostage in our life lie to us about how long it's going to be around, about how incapable we are, about the way that we're going to feel forever, and about the power that we have to figure out how to build a life where you can live with this thing instead of living at the effect of this thing. And that's not to say that grieving the life that you thought that you were going to have and coming to accept the diagnosis and that your life is now a life where you have MS. And the hardest thing about acceptance, and this sucks, is that you don't truly, I believe this was Oprah Winfrey's definition, you don't truly forgive or accept something until you stop wishing things were different. And because there's a weight in that wish that things were different, which you are completely allowed to have. But there is a weight and a grip that this disease has over you until you can get to the point where you are able to say, okay, this is it. And now, motherfucker, I'm going to figure out how to live with you. And the lies that you tell me that I'm not capable of about getting out of bed today, some days they may be the truth, but it's not always the truth. And the lies that you're telling me that I'm going to go on a decline and I'm never going to be able to do some of the things that I used to do, that's not true. What if I figure out how to thrive? What if I figure out how to have a full life? What if I figure out how to really live with this and even come to see this as a gift, as your friend Jamie has? And so I'm not saying any of this work is easy, but I am certain that the disease is lying to you and that there's the way to use the theory is to understand what's in your control and what's not in your control. And what's not in your control is the diagnosis. This is where your body's at and where your nervous system is at right now. That is period, done. That's the truth. But what is in your control is how you respond to everything, the symptoms, the emotions, the fears, the story that you tell yourself, the vision that you create for your life from this point forward. And you're already doing it. I mean, you're doing this podcast, you're open about the diagnosis, you're talking to experts. So you're already engaged in it. But to the extent you can start to separate yourself, again, this is not my idea, it's detachment theory, it's radical acceptance, it's Buddhism, it's Stoicism. And you focus on, okay, well, how do I respond to this? And every day it's going to be a little bit different, but you get to choose the story you tell yourself about how this turns out. That's where you get to choose. That's the let me part. Let the disease lie to me. Let the media say whatever it wants about MS. Let the trolls online say whatever they're going to say about me. Let them, because I can't control that. But I get to choose, let me choose the story I'm going to start telling myself about how this all turns out. That's where your power is. And, one of the things that I love about the theory, or what it's taught me, and it took me, until I was 54 to figure this out, is that if you feel exhausted and tired and frustrated and overwhelmed, or you're trying and it's just not like catching in terms of going, the problem isn't you. The problem is the power you're either giving to other people, or in your case, the power you're giving to your fear and to the narrative around this diagnosis. And that doesn't mean the diagnosis isn't real. That doesn't mean the symptoms aren't excruciating. That doesn't mean that there aren't days where you can't get out of bed. All of that is true. And it is also true that you get to choose the narrative that you're going to tell yourself and the picture that you're going to paint about what happens to you as you learn to live with this and you learn to thrive with this, which you are fully capable of doing. You know how much badass shit you've done in your life? Like, I know this disease is a pain in the ass, but I don't think it's met its match unless you buy into the lies.
No, I don't. Look, I'm listening to you, and like all these things are going in my head, like weird things, like how to make the universe laugh, tell it your plans. In other people's terms, that could be God or whatever. I'm a university kind of lady.
Same.
But I always say to Jamie too, is that I do have this hope of a miracle, and the miracle not coming from an outside source, like in the medical field, but like a miracle, some kind of miracle. And it's why I keep on my
Well,
heels.
let's define what a miracle is, though. What is a miracle? Like, so let's define the miracle, because what if
Right.
the miracle weren't what you think it was?
Right. To get to a place where like I'm good today, that would be a miracle. I'd love to be able to like honestly say to someone, no, I'm good today. There's always a but or an if or a can't or a won't when I answer that question. And I don't want that. I want to be able to say, I'm good today. I know I'm never going to not feel this diagnosis. I know that.
Well,
But
I
I
don't
want
know
to
that
just be
that's
able
true.
to say,
Hold
okay,
on a
there you
second.
go.
I don't
Then
know
that's
that
the
that's true.
miracle. Okay, there you go. Now you talk.
And no, but so I really want, I am so, thank you for letting me go here, because I think you're setting the bar way too low.
Okay.
I do. And I want you to consider, first of all, Jamie's correct that you're probably still in the massive grieving stage.
Oh
And
yeah,
you
I'm
will
in baby
be,
stage.
for a long time. Yeah. And so giving yourself some grace, amazing. But I wouldn't call being able to say, I'm having a good day, a miracle, because I think that's within your reach within the next 24 hours. And to truly mean it. And I think a miracle looks more like, wow, I get to the point where I look back, and that might be 10 years from now. What's coming up for you?
Because I feel like a lot of the time, Jamie and I speak upon those words, how are you? We speak upon that a lot because a lot of people don't really want to know how you are. And I mean, I've done it. Like, I don't want to hear how someone is. Like, I don't want to take on their shit. Like, I want them to say, I'm fine, moving on. So sometimes I have said, oh, I'm good today. And I'm not. And that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here, because I don't want our listeners to sit here and think that I sit home in the shell of despair. That's not the jam. I have a beautiful daughter that I love, that I laugh with and sing with. And so please, everybody, understand, like,
it's, we don't need to get out the harp or the violin for Christina today. But I do feel like I say I'm good today and I'm lying. And that's what I want to get to, a place where I'm not lying.
Okay. Well, then let's make a pact that you're actually not going to lie. So, because this is another form of somebody talking over you. It's the same coping mechanism of shrinking. And it's okay to have a bad day. And it's going to be very hard for you to have a good day if you feel the pressure to pretend that you are having a good day. And so one thing to try, and again, I think about all this shit as like an experiment, right? I'm just experimenting with things to see what makes me feel better. And I want you to give yourself permission to just be blunt and to be honest with yourself and anybody that asks about how you're doing. And here's the other thing that you can do. You can say, today is a shit day. And it's a shit day. Okay, great. It's a shit day.
You can look through my texts of everybody every day going, how are you feeling today? I'm like, how do you think I'm feeling today, fucker? Shit.
Well,
shit.
here's the other thing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, then let me ask you a different. So I'm glad that you're doing it. Another way that you could start to do this is you could rate your day 0 to 10, but throw out the 7. Throw out the 7 because 7's a throwaway number. If you throw out the 7, you got to choose between a 6 and an 8, and those are two very different days. And give it a number so that it has less emotion to it. And the second thing that I'm going to ask you to do is, I think it's really important for you to define what is actually a good day. Because if we were to just write out what is a good day for you, is it a day where you get out of bed? Is it a day where you laugh once? Is it a day where I don't know what it means, but you get to decide what a good day is, because there's a difference between the things that you're going to say are making up a good day, because that's how you can track how you're doing, versus the very valid emotions that you feel in the moment. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Support for Messy comes from Beekeepers Naturals. So I recently cleaned out my medicine cabinet. I wanted to find things that weren't toxin filled, and I wanted more natural options, especially for my children. And I found Beekeepers Natural. My favorite product of theirs is the Propolis Immune Support Throat Spray and their Propolis plus Vitamin C Liposomal. They are must-haves in your medicine cabinet as seasonal germs start to hit and allergies start coming into play. I take the throat spray as part of my daily routine for proactive immune support, and I take the Propolis Vitamin C Liposomal for a daily dose of supercharged support when I need some extra defenses. And for my kids, I give them the Kids Immune Support Throat Spray every day. They love it because it tastes like honey. I feel like I'm always fighting to them to take their supplements and take their vitamins, but with this, they love it. And then I love it because I know they are getting a dose of essential vitamins and nutrients, and it's a secret to defend against those nasty school germs. They also have these awesome kids' throat soothing pops. There's no food dyes in them. There's only 2 grams of unrefined sugars, and it tastes like candy, and they have all these sneaky immune supporting benefits. Today, Beekeepers Natural is offering you an exclusive offer if you go to beekeepersnatural.com/messy or enter code MESSY to get 20% off your order. That's beekeepersnatural.com/messy or enter code MESSY. Beekeepers Naturals products are also available at Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens.
Support for Messy comes from Lumi. Okay, so ad nauseum I have talked about Lumi. And I'm going to say favorite product, I think of this century for me. I love it so much. All right. So if you haven't heard of Lumi, I'm going to explain some things. So this is a whole body deodorant. Do you understand what I'm saying when I say whole body? Just think about it. All the places where it is odorous, your pits, your underboobs, that's a weird one. Thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet. Yes, I said it. I said vulvas. And it's safe. It was created by an OBGYN who, saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So it's not something that's like blocking. It's actually helping with your body so that you don't have odor. It's freaking amazing. I love it so much. You can get it in a solid deodorant stick, which is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. Sweat control deodorant, 72 hours, and sweat control for pits, privates, and beyond. So I have some very exciting news to share with you. Lumi just came out with a brand new scent, Vanilla Bliss. Wouldn't you like all your bits to smell like vanilla? Yeah. It's super cozy, a pitch perfect mix of vanilla bean and sandalwood. It's sweet, but it's not too sweet. And even though it only just came out, it's apparently already on its way to being one of their most popular scents. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. So as a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off of all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack, okay? Use code MESS, MESS, for 15% off your first purchase at lumideodorant.com. That's code MESS at LUMEDEODORANT.com. Please support our show. Tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, please. Stay drier and boost your confidence from head to toe with Lumi.
So what would a good day look like for you?
They're usually unexpected because normally I don't want to do anything or see anyone ever.
Okay.
But I have a very small circle of loves of my life that span 30 plus years. Besides Jamie, I honestly have like just a couple friends within the last 20 years, but most span before that. And when people come to visit me, I love when the conversation has nothing to do with my MS and it has something to do with like books or art. Or my friend Sam came over. He and I have known each other since I was 15. He's one of the dearest loves of my life. And I didn't want him to leave. That's a good day. Normally, I'm like, get the fuck out of my house. You're annoying me with your mouth sounds. But he and I could sit and literally talk for hours. And we've been doing that since I was 15 years old. And I love him. So there, shout out to Sam. But yeah, that's a good day. That was like really nice when I didn't want that part to end. It was a good day.
I love what you're saying because your life holds the clues and the map for what actually makes you happy and what makes for a good day. And when you look backwards, even before you had this MS diagnosis, and you say to yourself, when was I happy? Like, what are some of the things that were going on in my life when I were happy? And try not to be like, well, I didn't have MS, but just like, and you just said some of them. Seriously, you just said some of them. You said, I see friends. We don't talk about the things that are going wrong. I have something that I'm looking forward to. I'm doing a project that's like, I'm making this stuff up. And you can start to create a list of the things that actually make you happy or lift your spirits or account for a good day. And everybody's life offers that map because you can look at your life and go backwards. And, I learned this because my daughter hit a point when she was in her early 20s where she just had a complete like breakdown, sobbing uncontrollably. I hate my life. I hate my body. I hate how I feel. I hate that I don't have a job. I, never see my friends. I'm out of school. I don't know what, and I listened to her and listened to her and listened to her. And then I said, okay, so are you open to doing the work to feel better and to figure this out? And she said, yes. I said, great. Take out a piece of paper and I want you to write down a description of what your life looked like from the moment you woke up until you went to bed, when you just felt good. And she talked about getting up and going to school and seeing her friends. And she talked about playing sports. And then she talked about she was in a relationship and she knew she was going to college. So she had something to look forward to. She's only drinking 2 nights a week. And I was like, great. Now let's write what your life looks like now. And she's like, I sleep till noon. I don't see my friends. I don't reach out to anybody. I drink every day. I'm not exercising. And I'm like, compare. And your life offers that. And when you do that work for yourself of saying, oh, I need to see my loves. I need to have time with my daughter. I need to have a good book. I need to force myself out of bed and to at least go sit outside in the sun. I need to limit my screen time. When you start to see that, that will actually work. Now here comes the challenge. You're not going to feel like doing it. And this is where the MS lies to you. And the same is true about depression. The same is true about an eating disorder, that you can have that list of things that create a sense of wholeness or a good day. And in the moment when you're struggling with something, the conditions of your life and the emotions that you feel that are valid are going to lie to you and tell you, well, I just don't feel like doing those things. And the real trick becomes learning how to trust your wisdom and the things on the list and ignore, to the extent that it's medically okay to do so, ignore the emotions that you're feeling that are saying, nah, don't feel like it. That's the battle that you're in. It's a battle of your emotion and the resignation and the sadness and the fear and the actual wisdom that you have and the things that are obvious to do and to force yourself to do that help you start to step back into your life again, despite the fact that you have MS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I can give you something that'll help because, my whole story began at a moment in my life where I couldn't get out of bed. 14 years ago, my life had I'd basically fallen into a hole, dug a hole for myself. My husband had gone into the restaurant business and it did not do well. And we had secured it with our entire life savings. And at the age of 41, with 3 kids under the age of 10, I found myself unemployed with $800,000 in debt. And the liens hit the house and the bills were piling up. And I became a person I didn't recognize, probably very much like you feel right now. And I was such a bitch. I would have told you you were lucky that you had MS because you could at least blame the situation on MS. And the only thing I could blame my situation on was my own fucking stupidity and the mistakes that I had made. And, I would lay in bed every morning like a human pot roast, marinating in my problems and self-loathing. And the depression that I felt and the anxiety that I felt was lying to me. I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed to get a job. I knew I needed to stop drinking. I knew I needed to stop screaming at my husband. I knew I needed to reach out to my friends for help. I knew I needed to stop hitting the snooze alarm 6 times every morning and the kids missing the bus. But I just couldn't make myself do those things that were on my list because of the emotions and because of the lies that the depression and the overwhelm were telling me. And, if I hadn't discovered this stupid thing that I call the 5-second rule, which is a lot like dropping food on the floor, you got to pick up food within 5 seconds or you can't eat it. You got to move within an idea within 5 seconds or your brain actually contaminates your will and your motivation to take the action. And if I hadn't discovered this little trick I'm about to teach you, my life would have gone in a different direction. I would have gotten divorced. I'd probably still be an alcoholic. lost the house, torn the family apart. God knows what I'd be doing with my life. But thankfully, one night I kind of had this epiphany when I was drunk on bourbon, where I was kind of telling myself, all right, Mel, you got to get out of bed. You got to look for a job. Tomorrow it's the new you. And when that alarm rings, you cannot hit that snooze button 6 times. Woman, you have got to get out of bed. And this rocket ship launches across the television screen. And I thought, well, that's the answer. I'm just going to rocket myself out of bed like a rocket ship. I'm going to move so fast, the depression won't be there. And so the next morning, that's when my whole life changed. Like it was a February morning, Tuesday in February 2008, changed my life. One decision. And the decision was get out of bed, even though I didn't want to. I didn't feel like it. I didn't think it was going to make a difference. But for the first time in my life, I just shut the fuck up and I did it. And what helped me do it is in that moment where the alarm rings and I start thinking about what I need. I don't feel like it. How's this going to fucking help? Like, I don't want to get out of bed. It's February. It's cold. It's dark. I just started counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I rolled out of bed and stood up. And that one decision taught me that you can do things even when you don't think it's going to work. You can make the moves that you don't want to make. You can, through action, slowly start to silence the lies that your life or the society or your disease or your depression, obviously within reason and, what your doctor says are your limitations. But one move at a time, you actually prove that those are lies and that you're more capable than you think. And you start to reclaim your life through action. And, for me, I personally believe that motivation is bullshit because it's never there when you need it. And there's a skill that you are going to need to learn, which is learning how to do the little things that suck in the moment, but are on the column of joy for you or good for you. That learning how to act in a way that aligns with the thing that you want in the future, not how you feel right now, that's how you reclaim your power in this situation. Obviously, with medical approval. Like, I want to be responsible about that. I'm not suggesting you should go, run a marathon, but pushing yourself out of bed, getting
That'd be a
outside.
fun.
No,
that'd be a fun
I-
one to watch. Me running
But
a marathon.
Mel, you have taught me that. And what I have learned is that I have reclaimed my power because for a very long time, this disease defined me in every which way. It told me what I could and couldn't do. It told me who I was. It told me what I was worth. It told me all the lies, all the lies. My pushing past circumstances in that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 didn't change the physical pain, didn't change the fact that I limp when I walk. It didn't change the fact that I had the disability that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But what it did was teach me that I was worth it. I was worth trying. And it turned into like self-love. And then it turned into acceptance. And my mantra became every time I showed up to physical therapy, every time I showed up to school pickup, and I would hate that I would bring out the cane and I had to deal with the thing of the moms looking at me and all whatever. It's just, this is where I'm at today. That was my mantra. Just, this is where I'm at today. But your tools of what taught me to do that. And like I said, I have seen profound shifts within my life because of small micro moments where I wasn't expecting change. It didn't change the circumstances, but what changed was me.
Yeah. And, I think it's the thing I love that you said it doesn't take away the pain, doesn't take away the fact that I limp when I walk. What it changes is you and your ability to meet this moment or this day in your life and recognize that you do have power that you can tap into. And some days you're going to feel more powerful, other days you're not. And the reason why this is also helpful is because, I'm not a medical doctor, obviously. I'm also not an expert in MS, but it is very, very clear based on the world-renowned experts that I've had on the Mel Robbins podcast, based on the books that I've been reading about autoimmune disorders, is that there is a massive connection between stress and flare-ups with an autoimmune diagnosis or disease. And one of the most stressful things that you can do to yourself is to get into a funk, and I have been there in my life, where you start to convince yourself that you're never going to get better. You start to convince yourself that your life is forever fucked. You start to convince yourself that there's no way that you're going to ever be able to get through this. That's actually not true, because you don't know what you're capable of. It hasn't happened yet. And so if you're going to make something up, and you're making up that I'm not going to be able to deal with this, you're making up that I'm never going to feel better, then you at least deserve half of the time to make up something positive. What if this works out? What if I surprise myself? What if, in the future I look back and I actually feel grateful? What if there's more that I'm capable of, but I just need to start to believe in that? What if this opens up doors and creates space and possibility in my life and brings in so many blessings that I don't even know? Why don't I hold the door for that possibility if I'm going to make up a future? Yes.
I wanted to say, because as you're talking, and Jamie knows me, my brain just has to speak when I hear it, because otherwise I'll forget it. It's an MS thing, but it also could be narcissism. Who knows? But I was going to say, first, as a joke, parenting is my biggest stress, because it's the only thing I have, and I want it to be perfect. I want her to have the best life. But speaking on this, what you were saying about stress making flares, I had no symptoms before January 2021, when my mom was diagnosed with cancer for the third time. And an employee of mine was terrorizing me. And it was little things started happening. My toes got numb, right? And then the more stressed I got, and within 5 months, I went from a dancer, a hiker, a tennis player, all these things, to completely 50 pounds heavier and completely disabled. So for our listeners to listen to this, and we always hear about that, but the fact that you're putting that onus on it is so important. And I'd love you to speak more upon that, because it's also not that you're creating your disease from stress, but it exacerbates things, and people need to, I don't know, just need to shut up and fuck off. Sorry, Mel.
No. Please don't apologize. I appreciate that context. And, I'm also trying not to make assumptions about what it's like to live day in and day out with what you're living with. And I also don't want to invalidate the extraordinarily disorienting and destabilizing experience of having that much change in your body and your pain levels and in your health, and navigating caregiving for your mother and this asshole who's terrorizing you, which, I certainly have had experiences like that, where so much feels out of your control and then your body goes out of control. And stress didn't cause it, but it is absolutely a contributing factor that we cannot deny in the equation. And all of those things that were happening, they're all examples of you dealing with things that felt wildly out of your control, right? And that's a profoundly stressful experience. And so the reason why I'm pointing that out is because when we focus on all the stuff that's out of our control, it just creates this fight or flight mechanism and this stress response because we have a hardwired fundamental survival instinct to actually feel in control. When we don't feel in control of our life, we feel unsafe and we go into a stress response. And so I'm not saying that a negative thought loop of, oh my God, I'm never getting out of here, which is very normal, by the way. Like, I think it's a sign that you're mentally well, honestly, that you're pissed off, that you're beaten down. Like, I think given the circumstances, that is a mentally healthy response. It's a sign that everything is working as it should, that you're bummed out and negative and pissed off and depressed, given what you've just been through. So let's just validate that.
Yeah.
And the second piece that I'm trying to say, though, is that one thing that is in your control is how you teach yourself to think about what's going to happen in the future and what you are capable of doing day to day, depending upon your symptoms. And the reason why this is important is because if you get to a point where you're kind of through the grieving, you understand this is the new normal, then I think intellectually we all understand that staying in a mindset that makes you continue to look out to the future and say, I'm fucked, just makes you feel more stressed now, which isn't going to help. So what's in your control is to start to train yourself to look to the future and go, I choose to believe that this is going to work out. I choose to believe that I will start to feel better. I choose to believe that I will create new routines in my day-to-day life. I choose to believe that I am going to start to feel like myself. I choose to believe that I can do simple things every day that I don't fucking want to do and I'm pissed off that I have to do, but I'm going to do them anyway because I'll be damned if this disease is going to lie to me. See, I like a little attitude in the self-help kind of thing. Because then I'm
you
like,
came to the
yeah,
right place, Mel.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. That I choose to believe that, because now what I'm doing is I'm talking to myself in a way that doesn't create more stress. It creates what you need, which is a little hope. You know, I've come to believe that after 10 years of kind of doing what I do, writing books and sharing how I've fucked up my own life and hurt myself and the things that I've learned the hard way, is that the single biggest thing that's standing in anyone's way, no matter what they're dealing with, isn't the ability to make things a little better. It's actually discouragement that it's not going to work. That was me when I was laying in bed and I kept hitting the snooze button. I knew what I needed. I knew little things I could do, Christina, but I convinced myself that it didn't matter. I convinced myself that we were going to lose the house, that I was headed for divorce, that I was an alcoholic. I convinced myself that there was nothing I can do. And when you start to feel discouraged, why would you ever be motivated to do anything? Because you have no hope. And so one thing that you can take control of today is talking to yourself in a way where you're doubling down on hope. And, you know, some tips from the research are use the third person. I think it's the third person is it the third person when you use your own name? When you go like Christina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So literally, like, use the third person, because now you're separating yourself from your emotion. You can also think, what would I say to Jamie? And then say that. And those are, and you can also separate yourself from the MS and your response. So you can say things like, my MS symptoms are shit today, and I'm still getting out of bed. So that you are recognizing and acknowledging the very real symptoms. Those are real. They do suck. You don't deserve this. And I'm still doing X.
I'm just going to breathe that one in. Support for Messy comes from Mudwater. Now, mud water is a coffee alternative that has all the amazing stuff that, like, you might call it a hype, but it's actually not a hype. Like lion's mane mushrooms and all these beautiful ingredients that help with your overall health. Also, I'm really sensitive to caffeine and I always feel really jittery and anxious and I annoy people, but this does not do that. I love the taste of matcha, and I have to say their matcha thing is the best I've ever tasted. Every single ingredient in Mud Water products are 100% USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and, wait for it, kosher. There is also zero sugar and no sweeteners added. Each ingredient in Mud Water serves a purpose, with organic ingredients for a clean, natural boost. Mud Water's smooth, earthy flavors provide a delicious and natural source of energy. Their OG blend contains, and I love saying this, cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and a hot chocolate-like flavor. And also lion's mane for focus. Lion's mane, by the way, is like super good for people with chronic illnesses. I'm not a doctor. I'm claiming it. They're not claiming it. I'm claiming it. Cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. You ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com. Now, by the way, it's not water with an A and an E. It's WTR. I want to make sure people know this. It's mudwtr.com. Grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43%. Oh my God, really? 43% off your entire order? That's like amazing. Plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code MESSY. That's right, up to 43% off with code MESSY at mudwtr.com. After your purchase, they'll ask you how you found them. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to show your support and let them know we sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with Mud Water, because life is too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy.
Mel, there are so many beautiful people in this messy community that need to hear that and be reminded of that and that of their power. I think a lot have given their power over to this disease, and I understand why. You know, it's. But Christina and I, we talk about it all the time, that there is also proof of what you want to call a miracle, however anybody wants to label it. There is also living proof of people that are not only thriving but feeling better. And it's you can't rob yourself of that.
Well, I like it quick. The thing that I love about this conversation is that there is the need to not gaslight yourself. And you can actually acknowledge what's happening and validate how you feel and all your symptoms and everything you feel about it, and still take actions that align with hope and with the belief that this gets better. And that is a battle that you fight every minute of every day. And I think it's very important to understand that two things can be true at once. You can have MS. You can be totally pissed off and bummed out about it. You can have shitty flare-ups and symptoms and be exhausted and in a lot of pain. And you can teach yourself how to believe that this is going to get better. And you can force yourself, if it's medically okay and your doctor says it's fine, you can force yourself through the symptoms to get up and do the things that the experts say actually make things better. And those two things can coexist. And so you can let MS be what it is, and you can let me focus on what I can do. It's about my attitude, and it's about what I choose to do or don't do in response, and it's about how I process my emotions. That's what I got right now. And, you know, one other thing that I think is relevant for this discussion, because I see how much you love Christina. I see how much you want her to change. I see how you truly want her to feel better, and you see what is possible and you see the power. One of the things that we researched in the Let Them theory is really this dynamic of wanting something for someone else, wanting a bigger possibility, right? And that's a beautiful thing to want for someone else. Here's where I want to speak to, because I've made this mistake in my life where I see somebody struggling, or I see, somebody that I think, could take better care of themselves, or, I want them to be more hopeful. And then I step in and I try to encourage them and all this stuff. And when somebody's down on themselves, even when we step in and try to encourage somebody, it just feels like more pressure. And people only change when they are ready to do the very hard work to change. And people only change for themselves. And it's a very hard thing to wrap our brains around, because we think that if we were in that situation, well, we wouldn't be acting a certain way. And so I just want to speak to something, because we've all been in that situation where, somebody's trying to motivate us or trying to encourage us, and we're like, fuck off. Like, it just creates resistance, because you're already in this kind of situation with yourself. And so here's what I choose to believe. I choose to believe everybody wants to thrive. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to take better care of themselves. And I choose to believe that. And if somebody is in a place in their life where they're not able to do that yet, it's likely because they feel discouraged about whether or not the things that people are suggesting are actually going to work. And I'll never forget, as we were researching, this theory, and I'm talking with world-renowned experts, having an expert say to me, Mel, people only get sober when being drunk is harder than doing what is extremely difficult work to change yourself and face what you need to face. And, when I look at you, Christina, I know you're capable of living a very full and fulfilling life. I know that you're capable of coming up with new routines and making every day or most days a good day. I know you're capable of talking to yourself differently. I know you're capable of having MS become something that you live with. And I also know that a miracle can happen, where in the future you look back and you're actually like, I am actually grateful. Like, I see all the blessings that never would have come without this thing. And so I can stand here and say all that. However, you're still in the spot where you're organizing pain and friction and desire that you need in order to say, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm not going to let this lie to me anymore. I'm going to do what it takes for me or for my daughter, and you're getting there. And there will come a time where you just have that thing happen. And one of the mistakes that I think that we make is that, another expert, Dr. Stuart Ablon, who's a child psychologist, said, Mel, the hardest working kid in a classroom is not the kid getting A's. It's actually the kid who's failing. Do you know how hard it is to sit in a classroom and to feel like you're not reaching your potential? The friend of yours that is working the hardest on their health is not the person at the gym every day. It's the person who is sitting with themselves, right? Thinking about it.
Can I say this, Mel, though?
Yes, please.
Because I feel like it's getting to the point where that I'm not doing the work, and I don't.
I think you're doing the work. I'm worried
do the
that
work
it feels like pressure.
every day.
Yes.
No, it actually doesn't. Okay, I'm going to pull myself together.
No,
I'm an
don't
amazing
pull yourself
mom
together.
and I'm doing everything I can for her. She's the love of my life. I wake up at 5:00 in the morning to make sure that everything's ready for her to get ready for school. I am not sitting here in complete despair all day long. I don't like that is kind of not you, but that I'm like the character in our podcast as the one who is such a disaster, because I'm not. And I do try, and I do my hot Epsom salt foot baths every day because the lady in Dubai told me to do it, or I'm doing my arm things, and I'm eating incredibly well, and I'm trying so hard. Sorry, I'm crying. I just feel like I'm
I am so sorry if I've ever made you feel that way.
I don't want to feel like a subject. You know what I mean? In
Of
that sense. And
course.
because I'm not a subject. I'm a woman who was a dancer her entire freaking life and lost the ability to do that. And of course I'm upset.
Of course. I would
And
think
I'm
there's
mad.
something wrong with you if you weren't.
And when I was diagnosed, I was in the middle of filming a television program that was huge and the best thing that had ever happened to me. And of course I'm upset. Just give me time. Sorry, I just had a little meltdown. And I
Please
can't
don't
blame it on a period
apologize.
because I don't even have ovaries. Oh, God.
You're fucking funny. So, Christina, thank you for being here. Thank you for fucking showing up. Because you're right, you're not a subject. And there was so much that you just ticked off inside of how you went through your day. You know what that sounded like? A good day. You know what that sounded like? A woman who is not succumbing to MS. You know what that sounded like? A fucking fighter. You know
I'll
what
never
that
succumb
sounded
to this
like?
fucking disease. I broke my foot on
Let's
Broadway
go.
and danced on it for a year. Come on. I just don't have that kind of fight, but I've got a little. I got some.
No, you got more than a little. You got more than a little. And I don't mean to, I am pushing you just a little
And I'm grateful.
because, and I'm pushing you a little because I want you to claim the wins. Getting out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's a fucking win. Ring the bell. Having breakfast with your daughter, that's a fucking win. Ring the bell. Making it through your day, that's a win. Ring the bell. Calling a friend when you don't feel like it, that's a win. Ring the bell. And that is what you're actually doing. And I am going to encourage you, as a person who admires you, to shift the narrative. And if you're going to talk about what's hard, give equal weight to all the wins, because there is so much you're doing that is incredible. And you are a fighter. And you are going to have the days where you just want to collapse on the floor and cry. And then you're going to get up and you know what you do? You fight again. And maybe what a miracle looks like is you actually dance again. Maybe that's the miracle. But in the meantime, don't you dare not claim those wins, because the people that are listening to you, that are following your journey, that are listening to this podcast, they need you to claim their wins because they need to claim their wins too. And these aren't little wins. These are the biggest things, because every time you get out of bed when you don't feel good and you're in pain, you basically say, fuck you, MS, and you win. And that's how you're moving through your day. And to me, that sounds like a very good day. Doesn't sound like necessarily a fun one, but that's a good one.
I started doing my New York Times crosswords again. And because my hands, I can't work them. So in the little boxes, it's really hard to write, but I've been doing them for a week, and that's a big win for me because I used to do them every single day for 20 years and I couldn't because of the holding of the pen. People with MS will understand this when we get claw hands. And I'm like, no, just, you've got to do it. But the Monday puzzle took me like 20 minutes, which makes me feel really dumb.
I can't even finish it. So now you're calling me really stupid.
The Monday should be like I used to time myself.
Well, that's okay.
Monday should be like 8 minutes, not 20.
Yeah. So
It's
I think the takeaway here is please don't make yourself the joke.
Yeah.
Please don't make yourself the subject. Please, if we take one thing away from this, it's actually claiming the wins and being responsible about how much you are doing and how you are fighting. And that deserves as much time as validating the things that are hard. Because without actually claiming the wins, the things that are really hard actually is what takes over. I'm really proud of you. Really fucking proud of you.
Me too.
But if I don't make myself the joke, then I won't let myself laugh. I crack myself up. So if you
That's
told me that
fine.
you wanted me to laugh all day, it's because I crack myself up at my own expense. Because I'm
Well,
that kind of jerk, Gen Xer.
that's okay.
Okay,
But
thank you.
you can continue to make jokes as long as you're actually crediting a win for every joke you make.
Mel Robbins, what a gift you are. Thank you so much. Truly.
Well, the final thing I kind of want to say about that thing that I was saying about Dr. Stuart Ablon that really brought something up for you is that, he said the hardest working kid in a classroom is the one who's actually not getting the great grades and failing, because that person is working very, very hard to sit in a classroom and actually pay attention and to try to learn subjects where they're not getting the support or they don't understand, and they're working through so much stuff. And of course they want to do better. And if they didn't feel so discouraged, they would be doing better. And so I only brought that example up to say, and to validate the experience, that you are working so hard and you have so many wins, and the people in your life need to recognize those. And it's also important for you to validate and recognize the amount of wins and how hard you're working too, because you are.
Thank you.
What did you get out of this?
I want to hang out with you and sit at a cafe and talk and lots of things.
Absolutely.
It's too much to say. There's a
Okay.
couple things we do at the end of our shows because we want to let you go because we've taken more than enough of your time. I do well, Jamie, you explain things.
Okay. But I first want to say what I'm going to take out of this.
Yeah, you.
Is my unintentional role possibly of putting you in a box, Christina, or making you feel any subject in any way, because I am proud of you all the time. And while I intimately understand your struggle, and my genuine love for you and what I know is possible, I never want that to ever be confused with me not acknowledging how incredibly powerful and strong and amazing you are, and that I do know how hard you work. So I will take that away from this conversation, and any responsibility or role that I've had in ever making you feel that way, I am so sorry. And thank you, Mel, for reminding us all of what a fucking badass Christina is.
And Jamie, it takes a
Yeah.
badass to actually be self-reflective enough to absorb like a conversation like this and to see a place where the deep love that you have for somebody might actually be making a negative impact on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the same realization with the let them theory. I'm like, oh my God, I've been sitting here pressuring my kid who's got dyslexia and doesn't care about school to study harder. And I'm just like, and the kid's working so hard. And in every relationship, out of the love in my heart, because you want the best for people, we often create resistance to the thing that we're hoping to inspire. And we also gloss over the fact that somebody's working very hard. And so I think it's a sign of what a beautiful person and an incredible friend and a very kind of courageous and self-reflective person you are, to be able to go, oh, geez, yeah, I guess I might have been doing that. So let me check in with my friend there. So great job on that.
Thanks.
I have to do that a lot, by the way, because I fuck up a lot with this stuff. Just because I investigated the theory and wrote about it doesn't mean I'm great at using it all the time.
That's what it's there for.
Right.
Well, we pick a card at the end of every episode.
I love this. Okay.
It's random. It's from this deck that I bought at a interior design store, and it's just full of lovely quotes, and usually they pertain to our conversation. And when we finish our our favorite affirmation that we both have tattooed on our wrists is, and so it is. So we will end the episode with that after I read this card. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel.
For your valuable time.
I want to move in with you.
I would love that.
That's all.
Who
Okay,
doesn't?
cool.
I would
I'm
love
out of
that.
here. I need to get out of here. Seriously. Do you have a nice guest room? Has fluffy pillows? That's all I need in a
I
good
do.
bathroom. Ensuite.
I do. We can do the
you
crossword
for
puzzle,
my-
do all kinds of things
We
together.
could do our New York Times crossword puzzles together.
What a
Meaning
dream.
you could do it, and I'll pretend I'm doing it with you.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart.
You can we call it learning, which is just you can Google stuff, so don't worry about it.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
If we want to direct our lives, we must take control of our consistent actions. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, but what we do consistently. Anthony Robbins.
Oh my God, that's so weird. Mel Robbins,
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that.
Tony Robbins, and Mel, you have to understand, these are randomly picked. Randomly. And every single episode, Jamie picks one, and it's like all of us lose our minds because it's, it's the universe working together for common good. But any hootie, you're amazing.
Yes.
I'm now your biggest fan, and
Yes.
Well, I'm
all
your
those
biggest
things.
fan too.
Thank you, Mel.
And I'll hold the space of belief in you until you catch up with it. Like, I think we can do that for one another,
Yeah. And I'm good with okay being like not ready
Yeah.
to go through all the stages. And
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
'Cause it changes
Let
every
them.
day.
Yeah. You
Let
get to
'em.
choose. It's your life.
Or as Sutton Stark says, Strack from Beverly Hills Housewives, name them.
Name them.
Name them. Name them. I don't know why
so
I said
it
that,
is.
but that's just. And so it is.
This show is executive produced by Christina Applegate, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and Allison Bresnick. Our audio engineer is Josh Windisch.
And if you want to show us some love, don't forget to leave the show a rating or review. Hi, it's Jamie. Thanks for listening. I just want to let you know I am a paid spokesperson for Novartis, but this podcast is independent from my collaboration with Novartis.